Hello everybody, class is in session, and on the back of an Extreme Rules pay-per-view that was... then we've got, you know, the next Monday Night Raw. Wrestling continues to roll on. And it was a very intriguing week because Kurt Angle issued an ultimatum to Brock Lesnar. He said if he didn't turn up, he would strip him of the Universal Championship. And Lesnar didn't turn up, and Angle didn't strip... There was some good bits of Raw though, there was some good bits. It's certainly right, after a couple of weeks of like really bad Raws, this Raw was a step in the right direction. But how much of a step in the right direction? Let's take a little look-see. This is graded. So Kurt Angle opened the show in Buffalo. As promised, he said that if Lesnar didn't show up, he was going to strip him of the Universal Championship. He went, if you don't show up, I'm going to strip you of the, you are now not the champ. And then Paul Heyman cut him off. But Angle just finished his sentence anyway. He went, you are now stripped of the Universal Championship, as Heyman came out, which, you know, you should be stripped of it now. You've said it now, Angle. Angle went back on his word. To be fair to Heyman, he cut a great promo, as we always know he does. And to be honest, I've missed Paul Heyman the past few weeks. I've not so much missed Lesnar doing his Lesnar-y stuff. I'm annoyed that he still holds the belt, obviously, but that's the point, I guess. But I have missed Paul Heyman. He cut a great heel promo. He even suggested that we all miss Brock Lesnar and we want to see him all of the time, which got a nice round of boos from the crowd. And he also said that Lesnar wants to challenge for the UFC Heavyweight Championship with the Universal Championship strapped around his waist. If that happened, I'd just spend all night on Reddit, on the MMA Reddit boards, looking at all the MMA fans getting proper right annoyed. Angle said, right, fair enough, but he has to defend it at SummerSlam. And then we were all like, well, who's gonna, you know, challenge for the belt at SummerSlam? And then a whole host of people came out, and I've got them all listed down here. Excuse me for using my notes, but there was a lot of people. So Lashley came out, and as much as I don't really like Bobby Lashley, I'm not a big fan, it made sense because he got a big win over Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules. So that one totally makes sense. Drew McIntyre came out. Yes, he's been kicking ass so far. He had a big win over Seth Rollins, and he also helped Ziggler retain the title against Rollins at Extreme Rules as well. So Drew totally makes sense. He's been on a roll. Rollins came out. He lost to Ziggler on Sunday night, but at the same time, he's also been on a roll, especially during his reign as Intercontinental Champion. So I guess we can forgive that one. And also, we'd all love to see Rollins hold the title. I certainly would. Elias then came out with his guitar. He's not had too many big victories recently, but I guess he's popular. Not too sold on that one. Balor came out and said, you know, I've never lost the title. I was injured and was stripped of it, which I guess makes sense, but it was quite a long time ago now, Finn. But I can forgive that one too. And then Roman Reigns came out, yeah. Roman's justification was he doesn't care about Brock Lesnar, he just wants to fight someone tonight. And if I was Angle, I'd have gone, fair enough, here's a match against Tyler Breeze, here's a match against Victor from the Ascension. But no, Angle went, that's right, you're going to be put in one of 2 triple threat matches to become #1 contender for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. So Roman again just walks into a title shot and will probably complain next week about how he's been neglected. But you know, that's just what happens now, isn't it? Overall, however, I'm going to give this opening segment a nice B. I thought it was a decent opening segment. There was a lot of energy. The crowd were pretty hot to start off with. And I've missed Heyman a lot, you know? I've missed Paul Heyman. He can cut a promo like nobody else in the business. But then everyone else jumped in and it all kind of got a bit muddy. That's why it doesn't get an A. It gets a B. It's like when you're at a party and it's just you and a close-knit group of friends and it's all good and everyone's loving it, and then some other people join in and then some more people join in. And you like some of them, you're like, hey, Finn's here, Seth's here, but then you're like, Elias is here, Roman's here. And then the girls you were talking to all go and talk to the new group of lads, and it's just, I've let a bit of personal experience creep in there, a little bit. So we started off with one of those 2 #1 contender triple threat matches. We had Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns versus Finn Balor. And let me tell you, after an Extreme Rules pay-per-view which never really hit, you know, high gear too often, let's just start off Raw with an absolutely excellent match. I mean, this was utterly brilliant. I loved it. I loved the action. I loved how it spilled to the outside. There were spots being pulled out of nowhere that I've never really seen before, like Balor countering the drive-by into like a double stomp on the apron onto Roman's body. That was really good. Drew McIntyre with a tope suicida onto Roman as well. Men of that size should not be able to move in the way that he does. And the good thing about Drew's high-flying antics as well is that he doesn't bust it out too often. So when he does, it's genuinely a big big surprise. The finishing sequence saw Drew McIntyre blast Finn Balor with the Claymore kick, and then Roman kind of scuttled him out of the ring, hit the spear, and Roman Reigns is one of the two #1 contenders. So not the ending that everybody wanted, but I still had hope at this point because I was like, you know what, Roman versus Brock, we've had good Roman versus Brock matches before, and if we add in someone else later on tonight who's really good also, there could be a sick triple threat match, kind of like Royal Rumble 2015 when we had Rollins versus Lesnar versus Cena, that level of sort of excellence. So I still had hope. This gets an A-. I would have given it an A. Didn't quite agree with the result, not because I'm a Roman hater per se, just because I don't think Roman deserved yet another opportunity to get into the title picture. So I think A- is a fair reflection of how good the match was. Next up, the #1 champion on Monday Night Raw hit the ring, not Brock Lesnar, Dolph Ziggler. Do you see what I did there? Do you see what I did? I'm quite a witty individual at times, aren't I? No, it was a very predictable joke and I apologize for it. But Dolph Ziggler hit the ring with his Intercontinental Championship and said, I'm the best. And to be honest, he kind of buried Rollins in this promo a little bit. It's not Dolph's fault, it's the fault of the scriptwriters. He said, I beat him 5 times in one night and all that sort of thing, which doesn't make Rollins look great, but at the same time, it's not really Dolph's fault, and it does kind of fit his smarmy character. Then Bobbington Roode hit the ring because he's got nothing ready to do until he eventually turns heel one day, please. He hit the ring and delivered an absolute zinger. He went, if it wasn't for Drew McIntyre, Dolph, you'd probably be off somewhere telling terrible jokes at a stand-up gig. Oh, boss! 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 You could also say telling terrible jokes somewhere like a WWE written babyface, but I digress. Dolph accepted his challenge of a match, but crucially, it wasn't for the Intercontinental Championship, and Dolph won anyway. Again, kind of burying someone a little bit. He won clean with the super kick, and it makes me think, wow, can Bobby Roode not beat someone who should be exhausted after wrestling a 30-minute Iron Man match just the night before? So it was a little bit strange for me. I didn't fully enjoy the segment, but it was nothing offensive either. Don't worry, we'll get to the bad stuff a little later on. This gets a B-. I thought it was okay, the match was fine, the crowd were a little bit dead after such a hot opening match, but it was nothing too bad, and Ziggler continues to sort of, you know, continue his career renaissance, and I quite like that. Next up, a very short match between Rojo Morley, yeah, keep that in. Next up, a really quick singles match between Rojo Morley and Tyler and Bayley Tease, yes. Mojo essentially squashed Tyler Breeze, but if you're going to put someone in the match to make someone look good, Tyler Breeze is one of those guys who just bumps their ass off to make their opponent look good. It was also nice to see Tyler get a singles match while Fandango is sadly out injured, so I hope to see more of that in the future as well, because I'm a big Tyler Breeze fan. But yes, Mojo looked pretty good, pretty dominant and devastating, and this gets a B- as well. Simple squash match, not too much to it, but it did the job required. I don't know what the end destination is for Mojo Rawley, and I'm quite scared for it, to be honest, because I don't know if they've got too much of an idea what to do with him, but for now, I think it's trundling along nicely. At least this wasn't another segment involving No Way Jose, which wasn't a good feud with Mojo Rawley at all. Now it's time to talk about Bayley and Sasha Banks, right? Because, oh, this annoyed me. Like, right, I'm going to lump everything that happened together in one little graded segment. Basically, earlier in the night, Kurt Angle met up with Bayley backstage and went, look, if you can't get along with Sasha Banks, I'm going to trade one of you to SmackDown. You have a tag team match tonight against Alicia Fox, the beautiful Alicia Fox, and Dana Brooke as well, who on many videos I've referred to as Dana White, the big boss man of UFC. Very different individuals. Right, I have 2 problems with this, right? First of all, why does Kurt Angle care about Sasha and Bayley's friendship? He shouldn't really care about that. In fact, he should be quite pleased that 2 of his superstars hate each other because they can put on some excellent matches for the brand that he's in control of. Secondly, why can't you just let them wrestle? They're wrestlers. Why do you have to make them get along? Why do you have to threaten to trade one of them to SmackDown if they can't get along? Just let them fight each other. Let them have a fight. They're wrestlers. I mean, seriously, this is a big marquee feud potentially for Kurt Angle with long roots tracing all the way back to NXT, where they put on some of the best women's matches we've ever seen of all time. But anyway, I digress. Next, we had one of not the best women's matches we've ever seen, the tag match, Sasha and Bayley versus Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke. And this was equally baffling, really, to be honest, the result of this match, the finish of it. It was all going all right, and then Bayley was getting beat up on the outside by Alicia Fox, and then Sasha jumped out to help her. Dana Brooke got involved. Sasha also started to beat her up, did a big crossbody off the apron onto both of her opponents, despite being the illegal participant in the match she hadn't tagged in. And the referee, the strictest referee in the world, went, I've had enough of that. The baby faces are disqualified. What? Then Sasha stomped to the back, all like justified, like, I've saved my friend. Bayley was sat there like, I can't believe she saved me. And then they met up backstage and Sasha just blurted out, she was like, look, I love you. You're my best friend. I love you. I love how little kids look up to you. It's awesome. You're the best. And then she stormed off all angry. And it was like, why are they friends again? Can't we just have them wrestle? Kurt, do not trade one of them to SmackDown. Just have one of them wrestle the other one. Just make them wrestle each other. Throw in a stipulation if you want. They are brilliant wrestlers and they can put on a brilliant match together. This gets an E, this whole thing, because they've botched the feud, man. They've botched it so badly. Next up, the B team, the new Raw Tag Team Champions, shockingly, against the Ascension, their first title defense, and they won it as well. Pretty easily, pretty straightforward match. Almost a squash, I guess, because the Ascension really didn't do much of note, and it was a very short one. But again, it did the job at hand. Like the Mojo, Rawley, and Tyler Breeze match earlier in the night, I didn't have too many problems with this. It wasn't the most inspiring, wrestling I've ever seen, but it did the job, and it'll hopefully build up to something in the future. And I was delighted to see that the Revival were watching backstage from a side-on angle, like wrestlers do, and sort of taking notes as well, kind of looking at each other and going, these guys are amateurs, we know when to make tags, we know how to do some sick double team moves. And I was like, yes, the Revival might get a chance to become Raw Tag Team Champions, and it's fully deserved. But then again, the Revival aren't the only tag team on the scene who could realistically snatch those titles from the B team. I'm talking, of course, about the Authors of Pain. But anyway, this get to see, it was decent action. It wasn't, anything great, but it was, it was fine. It was fine. Congratulations for the B team. I enjoy their fun little celebrations when they pick up a win. Next up, Alexa Bliss and Mickie James took to the ring for Alexa Bliss's sort of traditional gloating segment. I'm the best, I'm the Raw Women's Champion. And then suspended Ronda Rousey came out of the crowd. And at first, from a distance, when she was walking down the steps, I thought she'd shaved the sides of her head into like a mohawk. She looked a little bit kind of like very short on the sides, like Lesnar almost. But at the same time, I was just being an idiot, because when she got closer, she'd actually just done her hair in a bit of a different way. But anyway, Ronda was still terrifying, whether she had a badass haircut or not, and she dragged Mickie James into the ring, clamped on an arm lock, but then all the referees came in and dragged her to safety, dragged Mickie to safety, because Ronda's not actually meant to be there. She's suspended, fair enough. Then she grabbed Alexa, was about to do the same to her, and then Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle came out to put a stop to this nonsense. Kurt Angle got in the ring with Ronda Rousey and went, Ronda, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to add another week onto your suspension. And at the top of the ramp, Baron Corbin was like, what the hell? That's not a severe enough punishment. And to be fair to him, he is kind of correct. Like, if I'd been suspended from my place of work and then I rocked up and started attacking other employees, I wouldn't be surprised if I was fired and potentially arrested as well. Just like to clarify, that does not mean that I'm going to turn up at name redacted towers and start clamping arm locks on fools, especially because they've got quite a big guy there who pats his head a lot. I'm quite scared of him. Corbin then goes, Kurt, you're not doing your duties properly. I've left my phone in the back. He actually specified that, like, oh, I've left my phone in the back, but I'm going to go there now, call Stephanie and tell her what you've done. And then when Corbin had left the scene, Angle sneakily booked Ronda Rousey versus Alexa Bliss for SummerSlam. Yes, that's a match that I definitely want to see. This gets a B+. I liked it. I liked the segment for the most part. You could argue that Kurt Angle was making kind of stupid decisions and he was being a bit biased in favour of Ronda Rousey, but it all makes sense in terms of his character. I don't mind Kurt making illogical decisions when it fits his character. And of course, he's friends with Ronda Rousey. They won together at WrestleMania in a huge victory over Triple H and Stephanie. That's great. Kurt's also a babyface, so he may be sort of forgiven for having slight allegiances towards fellow babyfaces like Ronda Rousey. I didn't mind that. When I do mind Kurt Angle making illogical decisions, it's when it doesn't fit with his character at all, like when he gives a massive deal when he cares a lot about Sasha Banks and Bayley, for example, which hasn't yet set well with me. I don't like that at all, Kurt. Why do you care so much about their friendship? You idiot. Next up, the Authors of Pain demolished Titus worldwide again, and it was pretty much the same match that we saw the other week, so it gets a C-, not a C. Normally I give squash matches C if there's nothing wrong with them, but there was a little bit, a little fault with this one, and it was the fact that we'd essentially seen it before, so a C-. Next up, Sarah Logan versus Ember Moon. Sarah Logan won. I think this may have been her first singles victory on Monday Night Raw, or since jumping to the main roster even. So that's very interesting indeed. I'm not sure how much I agreed with it. I don't know if you should have given Ember the loss here, considering she's been built up as a nice background contender for the Raw Women's Championship. I'm also not certain about the finish, because I think it was kind of stolen from another feud we've seen very recently. Basically, Ember Moon was on the top rope, she got distracted by Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan pulled her down and just pinned her. That was it straight away. And I'm pretty certain that we saw Curtis Axel or Bo Dallas do the same thing to Matt Hardy just a couple of weeks ago. So that wasn't too good. in my opinion. Quite torn on what to give this one. I'm going to give it a C- because as much as I like Sarah Logan, I'm glad she picked up a big victory, I didn't like the manner in which she did so, and I'm not really sure I like the opponent she did it against. I think that Ember Moon should be protected just a smidge more, just a smidge, just a little bit more. And finally, the second of 2 triple threat matches to decide who goes on to face Brock Lesnar and now Roman Reigns at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. This match featured Bobby Lashley, Elias, and Sethy Rollins. And it was, you know, it wasn't as good as the first match on the show, but it was okay. Like, it was good. It was a good match. It was good, I should stress that. But the wrong guy won. Rollins basically flew around and did his thing, and it was awesome. Like, he was crashing into fools left, right, and center. And then Lashley kind of almost snuck the win at the end when Rollins was out of the ring, recovering from a previous attack. Lashley just drilled Elias with the spear, and he'll go on to SummerSlam to face Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, and yay. This gets a B because, honestly, in my opinion, it was a little bit deflating. I'm pretty sure when Lashley gets the 3 count, you can actually hear the crowd go like, oh, like kind of like that sort of noise. Not like a hooray or a boo, more like, oh. So yes, it gets a B. Not as good as the excellent first match on the show. Nothing offensive, the match was good enough, but the booking implications for me was slightly off. I don't really like what this means we have in store at the biggest party of the summer. So overall, Raw gets a B- from Buffalo, New York, which, you know, it doesn't sound like too good a Raw, but it was the best one in quite a while. We've had some stinkers recently in previous weeks. So this was a good Raw, and hopefully it sets them back on the right track as we lead up into August and into SummerSlam. The 2 triple threat matches were really cool in terms of action. Didn't agree with all of the booking, and it just sort of struck me like, just by changing one participant in a triple threat match can change how excited the fans are for it by a great degree. Like, if we'd had Rollins versus Reigns versus Lesnar, I'd be hyped for that. I'd be pumped up. I think that would be excellent. That'd be a really good match. Lashley versus Reigns versus Lesnar, I'm not too excited for that at all, but hopefully it's a good one, and hopefully we see some sort of interesting developments in the Universal title picture. This Raw would have received a better grade also if it wasn't for the Sasha and Bayley nonsense. And also, there was a lot of fluff, a lot of little squash matches, which I didn't mind individually, but on the whole, didn't really create the most interesting middle segment of Raw. So a B- I think is a fair reflection. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for attending this classroom. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic. And if you want to as well, you can check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to join us.